Hello, I'm Dr. David Lemmon. Welcome to the Natural Cancer Support Channel. And I'm here with my friend Bob Ross. And he has a really interesting story, really interesting life. And so we're just going to get right into it. Bob, tell us a little bit about your multiple careers and what you've done, what you've learned over the years.
Absolutely. It's an honor to be on your podcast. Thanks, Doc. So, first off, my name Bob Ross. Little do my parents know they're going to give me a famous name like the famous painter. So, I love my name. I currently have six careers all going at the same time. I'll just briefly mention them. So, the
Wow.
first is in entertainment. So, I play trumpet and sing professionally, do stand up comedy, do some voiceover work. I'm also with the Pasadena Fire Department's EMS Reserve. So, I've been volunteering my services with Pasadena Fire for 36 years now, still active. I also have a company that does corporate CPR and first aid training. So I combine great fire department stories with comedy, great way to learn. I work as a motion picture set medic. So I work on sets of movies, television shows, commercials, music videos for when stunts go wrong, things blow up that weren't supposed to. Whoops. People get electrocuted, fall off ladders, all this stuff. Worked on The Amazing Race, several Criminal Minds, CSIs, SEAL teams, SWAT. I did two of the Star Wars, lead medic on American Ninja Warrior for 4 seasons. So great experience, great stories, enjoy it. And the catering is phenomenal. And then also for years, I've been helping people basically as like a therapist, but without formally being a therapist, if you understand what I say, helping people with post-traumatic stress disorder, phobias, addictions, all sorts of things. And then finally, I've started a coaching program for people with cancer. All that same time, although things are shifting to focus mainly on those last two nowadays.
Nice.
So what's interesting, I've had a passion to help people since I was 6 years old. I had a siren on my bicycle that I rode around the neighborhood bandaging people up, even if they didn't need it, which was ironic because my father was a mortician.
Mm.
His father was a mortician.
Hmm.
It was a family business. I was the oldest boy. I was supposed to be a mortician.
Hmm.
And then instead, I went into medicine. So according to my father, I went to the dark side. In fact, one day my dad put his arm around me because I received an award from the United States Congress for bringing a man back from the dead at the Rose Bowl, and put his arm around me, son. Your mother and I are so proud of you for all the lives you've saved. But son, you're bad for business. That's the best compliment you could ever give me. In fact, when my dad was still alive, I used to tell people, "Oh, I still work for my dad." The undertaker? Yeah, on a commission basis. Yeah, I lost a patient last week, but it made $100, so it all worked out.
Oh man.
Obviously, just kidding, just kidding. So, but I always had an interest in medicine, always had an interest in the sciences. My grandfather was a famous research chemist. And so when I went to college, oh, and my mother was a professional musician, played
Hmm.
multiple instruments, beautiful voice, perfect pitch. So I played piano, guitar, and trumpet growing up. I'd be in the living room playing the piano. She'd be in the kitchen. Bob, that should have been a C sharp. Never get away with it. So, and I love music. So I actually started as a double major in music and physics.
Hmm.
And I found out when I got there that that's a 6 year program, full time, because you start from day one in both of those majors, right? A lot of majors just do 2 years of background stuff, and then your last two are on your major. Both start, and they both have afternoon labs at the same time.
Hmm.
So I had to make a decision that first week what I was going to get a degree in. Excuse me. And my mom was very supportive. My dad very supportive. And she said, the great thing about music is you can always do your music. You don't have to do it professionally. You can always find opportunities to play. With a physics degree, you'll never have to worry about a job. But if you want to go full time in music, we obviously support that. So I got the physics degree. And then I graduated with distinction in nuclear physics, which is like a mini PhD that they had as part of the program. And when I was there, I found out about the field of medical physics, which in general is
Hmm.
applications of physics to medicine. The MRI scanner, that's magnets, that's physics. Blood flow, that's part of that is physics, right? But the biggest source were the uses of radiation in medicine. So diagnostic like nuclear medicine, and then treatment in terms of cancer therapy. And I was only one of three people accepted into a doctoral program at Harvard. I turned them down. So that's a look at my mom like, what? You did what? Mainly because they were really focused on research. So after you got your doctorate, they wanted to go into research, which is great. We need that. But I'm a people person. I wanted to treat people with cancer. So I went to another very famous medical school. I can't tell you which one it is right now. And I discovered the sad part of medicine, in my judgment, and that it was profit driven. Now, I understand you have to recoup your expenses, you have to pay for things, right? But, well, here's a good example. So I was part of a research team that made one of the biggest breakthroughs, I think, ever in cancer therapy, and that's the hyperthermia effect. So we discovered if you increase the temperature of cancer cells, you made them weaker. So just heat up the body for a treatment and you would use less of it. Unfortunately, it got suppressed. And later, I discovered that, well, mainly because it was cutting in on profits. Less chemo, less radiation, that's less profit. It's the business of medicine. It's not healthcare, Bob. And other things when I was there, very, very frustrating. And I realized that I couldn't do this as a career. And even though I was there 7 years, total of 11 years in school, even finished my internship, and I walked away from the field. Because I got into medicine to help people. And that's why I went into emergency medicine. That's when I found out about the Pasadena Fire Department's program, because we're the best in the world for emergency medicine. Phenomenal, just phenomenal. Well, as I was looking back, and even when I was there in the medical school program, I was always fascinated that the body has this inner healing mechanism, right? So like if you get a cold or a flu, you technically don't need to take any over-the-counter medications. You don't need to take Advil and NyQuil and all these things. Your body doesn't need that to heal. That's mainly for the symptoms. And your body, your immune system is phenomenal. Cancer cells pop up all the time. If your immune system is healthy, it produces what it needs, takes care of it, right? And I said, why don't we trying to prevent this from happening, right? If you know that and make your body hostile to cancer cells, then there will be fewer people actually developing tumors, right? And that's when that really struggle between helping people and preventative medicine versus treating somebody and making profit. Yeah. So that part is needed. We need research and development, need to be able to fund that. And it's a balance, I understand. And there are wonderful people in medicine that have great hearts. And a lot of them are confined, right? This is the only thing you're allowed to do in this box. I call it medicine in a box, right? Yeah. So the other part of that I discovered when I was there was that a lot of people that I was helping that had cancer had severe emotional trauma from the past. And so that kind of both of those things in a path. How does the body heal? What does the body do to make itself strong in terms of its immune system? How do our beliefs from the past, right? We come up with judgments like I'm not worthy, I don't deserve to be healthy, all that kind of stuff. And that will literally dictate the life. So I studied with a lot of people, say with Tony Robbins. I studied with a woman who developed EMDR. I was able to study with Gary Craig, who invented EFT. He actually perfected it in person, probably over 6 years. And I'm telling you, unbelievable results. Now, the thing about EFT, there's a lot of confusion. A lot of people make it very woo-woo, but it's very scientific. It turns out if you tap on a very specific spot where nerves come to the surface of the skin, that's the key, right? When you tap on a nerve, it sends an electrical signal down the nerve. That's pure science. Okay? Well, it turns out that if there's a emotional trauma resulting from, let's say you were hit by a car, you're in a bad car crash, you were attacked, anything, it results in an electrical disturbance in the nervous system. So they'll talk about like cellular memory or the body stores it. It's electrical. Everything, whole body works on electricity. So even chemistry, as you know, Doc, is based on electricity. That's why water has 2 hydrogens to 1 oxygen, because oxygen has a double electrical charge, hydrogen has a single, so it takes 2 to balance it. So even chemistry is electrical. Okay? But that electrical perturbation in the nervous system doesn't show up on any scan.
Right.
But the brain knows exactly where it is. And so as you tap on these very specific spots, it's sending an electrical signal to the nerve. And if you're focused on the trauma, your brain knows where in the nervous system that is and will send those electrical signals being generated to that perturbation, and it will dissolve it. So that's like if I'm working with somebody with a phobia, many times in one treatment, it disappears and never comes back unless they get re-traumatized. So in fact, here's a good example. I was working with a gentleman who had a fear of dogs. A massive fear of dogs, jumping up on a car for even a little yapper, right? And I asked, do you have any, thing from your past? No, nothing I know of. And my sister's getting married. I want to go there and be there, but she's got a big dog. And and I don't know what to do. And so we did some work. And the great thing about EFT in particular is it'll often bring up the root cause, the original cause of why they're having this issue, because sometimes they don't know.
The memories will just bubble up.
Yep. And I also get a lot of intuitive hits. So I get an intuition. And sometimes I'll get it. It'll come to me. Right. So I always say, as we go along, let me know if some memory pops up. So we're just tapping on his fear of dogs. Just close your eyes and think about a dog, and just from that, like a 9 out of 9 or a 10 out of 10. Right? And so as we're tapping away, all of a sudden he goes, "Oh!" I go, "Oh, we got it." He says, "When I was 6 years old, I was riding my bicycle, and I was being chased by this rabid dog, foaming at the mouth, trying to bite my leg, scared me to death." I go, "Well, of course you have a fear of dogs. You're small. That dog, compared to your size, I'm sure was huge to you, right? And the sound and all that." So we went then specifically, okay, just remember any aspect of it. We'll just take one aspect at a time, just the vision of it, the sound of the dog barking, the thoughts that you might have had, "Oh, I'm going to die," or all these things. And in one session, he couldn't get upset about it anymore. Close his eyes. Remember when that dog was chasing you? "Yeah, I remember it, but it's not bothering me now. It's not as happy." He still had it's sad that happened. He went to see his sister. The dog ran towards him. She opened the door, and he said, "Bob, I was perfectly calm." And then my sister said, "Let's go to the dog park." Oh, no. The dog park, he's perfectly calm.
Wow.
I saw him a couple of weeks ago, and he said, "Bob, it's been 3 years." He said, "It's never come back. In fact, I have a dog now. I adopted a dog."
Oh, wow.
Isn't that amazing? Yes. So another great example of how the brain off the worst part of a trauma. I had someone come, they were in a head-on collision, and they're having nightmares about the headlights. The only thing that was bothering them and they had nightmares about was the headlights coming at them. So we just started with what we have, right? So we tap on that. He's like an 8 out of 10, maybe a 10 out of 10. He's just really freaked out. And literally in about 6 minutes, I just check in, "How's it now?" "I'm at a 10. "Really? For the headlights?" "Oh, the headlights are no big deal. Maybe a 2. "Well, what's the big deal?" "Oh, Bob, the sound of the crash." "You never said anything about the sound." "I know, it just popped up." So we worked on the sound of the crash. Again, about 6, 7 minutes, "Okay, how are you now?" "I'm still at a 10. "Really? The sound of the crash?" "Oh, that's a 0. Well, it turns out the biggest deal was when he looked over and saw his best friend unconscious, all bloody. So I like to think of the brain sometimes works like an onion, where it puts layers on top of the worst part of the trauma so that we don't go nuts, right? And my understanding of dreams is to help process stuff. And if the brain can't process the stuff in the dreams, that's when it becomes post-traumatic stress disorder. Well, and as you know, the body can't heal when it's under stress. That actually goes against the body's healing process, right? One of the wonderful things about the EFT tapping is it triggers the autonomic nervous system. And just by tapping on the spots, literally triggers the autonomic nervous system to relax. And the beautiful thing is, even if you don't believe it works because it's physical. It's actually just electrical things going on, right? So it's a beautiful way. The other thing that I like to teach is the 4-5-6 breathing technique. So one of the things I learned from Tony Robbins is there's a set physiology to every emotional state. So when you're nervous, same exact physiological response. Stomach tightened up, stomach acids increase, muscles increase, heart rate. A touchdown scored, a goal scored, yes, they open up. Severe depression, they close down. In fact, severe depression, the physiology is head down, slump shoulders, shallow breathing, upper chest. You have to be in that physiology to have that severe emotional distress. And yet a lot of psychologists don't know this. I went through a really tough time in my life, and I've seen a psychologist, very excellent guy, and he didn't know that. So guess what my physiology was? I was severely depressed. All I could see was the bad things in my life.
While you're talking about your problems, you're in the physiology of your problems.
Exactly. And it was terribly ineffective, right? So if you just said, "Bob, stand up, put your shoulders back, put your hands on your hips like Superman," anything, take some deep breaths, that would have broken that physiology, which would have helped in processing the stuff. And even in emergency medicine, when people see a person get hurt, it triggers what we call tunnel vision. And literally, their body freezes and they hold their breath. That's the physiology. Okay? And in that scenario, you have tunnel vision. All you can see is straight ahead. You can't see anything over here. You can go totally deaf. You can lose your sense of smell. Yeah, you're in incredible danger because you will want to rush in to help somebody, right? The only way to break that mental blockage is physiology. That's why you have to force yourself to take a breath and turn and look away from the patient. That's really hard, especially if it's a family member, someone you know or love. But that's the best thing you can do is turn, look away. As soon as you do and take that breath, it breaks tunnel vision within seconds and you get everything back. So, so the 4-5-6 breathing, I found, because even on myself, when I was stressed, I didn't even notice it before then. But after that, working with Tony Robbins, I said, oh, look at that. I'm breathing shallow as all get up. That's when you're under stress, it's shallow breathing. So if you just do the 4-5-6, you breathe in for 4, hold it for 5, breathe out for 6. Does 2 things. One, it makes your brain focus on keeping track of the 4-5-6, right? So you can't totally focus on the crazy making stuff. And the other thing is it forces you to take in more oxygen, to hold it longer, which means you're going to absorb more of it, and it increases your oxygen levels and stress levels like 3 minutes. So one more thing about EFT that is spectacular is it can actually work on medical issues. So I was on set one day and a gal had severe menstrual cramps. She was actually taking medication for it. And for the first time ever, the medication didn't help. And she's on the floor, curled in a ball, just writhing in pain. And obviously she can't take more of the medication. And I said, well, I've got a technique. It's a little outside the box, And she said, anything. So we did the tapping and she just focused on the pain. Was it sharp, dull, right? It's one place, were there multiples? Tapped on any thoughts she had. And because I just knew one of her big issues was she couldn't work. And she was the only person that could do her job, right? So she was worried about that. And in about 6 minutes, it all stopped. Just disappeared. I stopped an asthma attack on an Olympic athlete whose inhaler didn't work. I mean, it's just mind-blowing.
So that is just accessing the pure placebo effect at that point.
Well, actually, I believe that in the same respect that it works for trauma, your brain knows exactly why she was having that abdominal problem, right? The menstrual problem. They knew exactly why the medication didn't work. Your brain understands all this. And so my understanding and belief is that just releasing the brain to do it. So same thing, the muscle works on electricity. So for her muscles to do that, her brain had to be sending electrical signals to make that clamp up, which means it can have it relax. Yeah. So again, it's not woo-woo. People think, oh, well, it's pretty woo-woo if you think about it, but there's a good scientific base for it. In fact, I think a lot of things in life are even nuclear physics, right? When I studied quantum physics, there's a lot of things that are just hard to wrap your mind around, which is beautiful. Oh, and one more quick story. So I invented a technique that takes away headaches in about 30 seconds. And I received an email from a woman and she asked, hey, does it work for migraines? And I replied back, yes, but you have to do it as soon as you start to get the symptoms, because once the migraine sets in, then it's really tough. Now, EFT can actually work pretty well on migraines, turns out. And I asked her, I said, well, so why are you having migraines? They don't know. They can't find anything physically wrong with me. Ding, 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 ding. Right? My intuition popped up. So I emailed her the tapping spots and I called her on the phone. And again, we just tapped on what was present. So the pain, the light sensitivity, the nausea, right? She was experiencing that. And then all of a sudden I heard a voice in my head, 14. Mary, what happened when you were 14? And she started to bawl. I'm sorry I made you cry. What happened? She says, well, my mom got remarried and my stepdad started abusing me. Oh, Mary, I'm so sorry. Out of curiosity, Mary, when did your migraine start? When I was 14. Oh. And how did that play into the abuse? Oh, that's what you wait for, that aha moment. She said, the only time he wouldn't abuse me is when I had a migraine. Mary, you were giving yourself migraines to protect you. The brain's goal is to protect you. I said, is he still alive? No, he's passed away. But you still have migraines? Yeah. Mary, I bet you get a migraine when you don't feel safe. I never put that together. So we stopped working on the migraine and then went back to that abuse. Now, since that wasn't a one-time event, that often takes multiple, sessions to break it. The trauma went away. She remembered, but it wasn't traumatic for her, no more post-traumatic stress disorder, and migraines went away.
So maybe we need to backtrack a little bit if viewers aren't familiar with what EFT is and what it means. So Gary Craig, in some of the videos that I've seen, emotional freedom technique. So there's tapping on specific acupuncture points or nerve points. And then there's some eye movement incorporated and some humming different sounds. Do you incorporate all those things of the eye movement and the humming every time, or can the just tapping work, or how do you customize it for each person?
So he was an engineer, which was great because he wanted to know what was really necessary. Did you have to tap on certain ones in certain orders for certain things? Which would make it very complicated. And so he just experimented with just start at the top and just work your way down and do it every time. Now, the one thing that I add is I tap the wrists together, grab the wrist, receive a nice deep breath through your nose, and let it out. Say peace at the very end. That's the conclusion of each round. And there are only 3 rounds, you'll feel massive change. I did a YouTube training video, if you're able to put that link in the show notes at all, so people can actually follow along. It's like a 3-minute stress release, and they'll learn a lot just from that, kind of teach them the basics as well. So he found that the eye movement and the counting and the humming wasn't really necessary. You could do it, but, and again, I don't use that after because I did that at first with him. And then when he's pretty much said, we could just tap on the spots and have the same results, then I stopped doing it myself. And again, I have unbelievable results.
Nice.
Now, one of the first things I do whenever someone asks me or tells me they have cancer, and I said, you need to find someone like Dr. Lemmon, who is a naturopath. He focuses, the main focus is to help the body heal. Now, sometimes you have to do outside things, right? A good example in emergency medicine, there are prescription meds that will drop a blood pressure quickly, prevent a stroke from happening. Awesome. But we want to find why they're having that blood pressure and reverse that. That's the key to medicine. That's the key to success. And that's why tapping and resolving these emotional issues is important for anyone with, first off, in general, quality of life, but especially anyone suffering a medical problem, and I think especially for cancer. Because if that's not resolved, then it's going to be very hard for your body to actually heal. A classic example to use is, let's say you moved into a new apartment, and unbeknownst to you, there was radioactive cobalt under the floor in your bedroom. Now you're getting radiation exposure and you develop cancer. So you go and you get treatment, they get rid of the cancer, right? But you still have the radioactive cobalt. You still have the cause there. Guess what's going to happen again? You're going to get cancer again, right? So you have to deal with the cause as part of the whole. And I love that you have the 7 principles of healing, because all of those are very important, right? So yeah.
The one question I've had about EFT for a long time is, so EFT is often used to, you have a negative trauma and you're lessening the traumatic effect of that emotional trauma. Can you use EFT and tapping to install a positive belief?
Yes, you can. Now, going back to the first thing you said, it's the only therapy that I know, emotional therapy, that you can actually focus on what's negative. So one of the challenges with talk therapy is, what do? You talk about the negative. You're reinforcing it in many cases. And now there's some great benefits to talking to somebody that's a good listener. You can get things out initially. But if you're rehashing, reliving the memory, that just, can grind it in. So, but the way that EFT works is by focusing on what's negative, your brain now knows exactly where that disturbance is in your nervous system. So it's actually a good thing. And they actually had 2 psychologists that got trained in the EFT, and they both knew that it was bunk. That it was just snake oil salesman stuff. Wouldn't work. So he had them tap on each other. You have any issues you're still working on? Oh, everybody does. Yeah. Okay. So you tap on each other. You both know it's not going to work. So there can't be any placebo effect here, right? You know it's not going to work, and it worked on both of them. That's what's so powerful. And you're right. Tapping on before you study can be very powerful, right? You'll actually absorb the material better. Tapping before a test, you'll calm yourself. You'll be able to think better during the test. Yeah, it's amazing.
So while repeating a positive affirmation, you believe that that can help install that affirmation more effectively.
Yes. And that's one of the things I was fascinated on because I discovered that I was sabotaging my success. I
Mm.
would have wonderful things just laid in my lap, and I would do something to mess it up. Not on purpose. I go, what in the world? Even my friends like, what in the world? I go, I don't know, I don't know. Well, it turns out I had a fear of success. I had a fear that if I was successful, that people would criticize me, that they think bad of me. Who knows where all that came from early childhood? That's where it came from, right? Stuff that yeah, all that. So I could not experience a breakthrough without dealing with that. And that's when I developed I call it the hidden secret brain technique. So I found out how the subconscious mind works. So your conscious mind is like a filter, right? So that's why affirmations don't work very well by themselves. Because if I say, I'm successful, and yet I have a belief that I don't want to be successful, that's not safe to be successful, that's really what the belief was. It's not safe to be successful, right? So
Mm.
your conscious mind compares what you're saying or what's being told you to what you believe. And in
Mm.
my case, I believed that it wasn't safe to be successful, and that's why I would sabotage, subconsciously would sabotage and not be aware of it. That's why it's so challenged sometimes. So again, I come from a long line of inventors. My grandfather was a famous research chemist, developed an alternate for chlorine. I think there are 150 patents in my family line. And so I got this idea and I pursued it in a way to how to get to the subconscious mind, put it in a certain state. That actually has a certain, the brain has a certain language that you have to use, both in terms of words and time frame. Like, for instance, your conscious mind knows time. It knows the past, present, and the future. Your subconscious mind does not know time. All it knows is right now. In fact, that's why Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now, was even bigger than he thought.
Mm.
So that was his focus on the now. Are you safe right now at this second? Right? Oh, no, there's that over there, but right now, right? Just become present, become present. A lot of the meditation concept is just be present, be present. So I found this combination that would actually allow you to release those subconscious beliefs and then replace them new beliefs that would empower you. So, for instance, the opposite of not feeling safe to be successful is actually feeling safe while successful,
Mm.
generous while successful, helping people while successful. The more successful you are, the more people you can help. Now, if that's the belief, then I'm not fighting, opportunities to come in, including like being on this in this podcast. Okay? So, and with great results. I mean, just unbelievable stuff. I had changes in my life that were just stunning. And then all of a sudden it hit me. Wait a minute. I wonder if I could use my brain technique for healing the body.
Mm.
And that's when I started really digging into like the placebo effect. Now, when I was at the medical school program, they did not like the placebo effect, right? So in the placebo effect, they give a sugar pill and they give the real drug, but you have no idea which one you're getting. Even the people giving the drugs don't know which is which, right? So there's no influence, right? And what they found was a percentage of people that got the sugar pill had the benefit of the drug. It actually cured their issue, but they weren't given anything. If they were told about the side effects, they'd have the side effects, but they weren't given anything. That's the ability of the mind. And I literally asked my professors, why don't we use that? Oh, we can't patent that, Bob. You can't make any money. But that's another reason I walked away, right? So yeah, the examples are just amazing. Well, here's a good one. So a man had severe multiple personality disorder.
Mm.
One of his personalities, say James, had full-blown type 1 diabetes. His pancreas didn't work at all. Another one of his personalities, say Jimmy, had a fully functioning pancreas, no diabetes.
That's wild.
So was there anything wrong with his pancreas? No. So what was turning it on and off? His mind. That's how powerful. And I said, well, what if we could actually release the placebo effect on purpose? So, and there's so many examples. There's two test results got mixed up. One person had 6 weeks to live. The other would be fine if they changed their diet. They told the guy who's going to be fine, you've got 6 weeks to live, and he was dead in 6 weeks.
Mm.
But there was nothing wrong with him. But that's, again, the negative power of the placebo. They call it the nocebo effect, basically, right? Harvard medical students were given uppers, but told they were given sedatives, and their body would react as they were given a sedative, even though they were given a stimulant. And these are Harvard medical students, so it's not like they're like, yeah, I believe anything. Just amazing stuff. And they found that depending on who gave you the pill in these drug trials is how much the placebo effect would work. So if it's given by a lab tech, it'd be like 20% of the people. If it was given by a nurse, 25%, by a doctor, 30%. If the doctor was wearing a white lab coat, 35%, the highest placebo response, because they believe this doctor is giving me this. And I wish we used that more in medicine, right? We're doing it in emergency medicine for sure. We encourage the patient, you got to fight to come back. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. If you had an infection and the doc gave you an antibiotic, if they said, this is the best antibiotic on the planet for exactly what you have, it would work better. But it's the same chemicals. And we're not using that in medicine. I'm sure you use it in medicine. I mean, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's become the enemy in medical research where they're trying to rule out the placebo effect. And Andrew Weil talked about that a lot in the 80s and 90s of why are they trying to rule out the placebo effect when we need to try to rule in the placebo effect. So it's an amazing backwards way of thinking in the scientific study establishment right now.
Yes. And one of my big breakthroughs was I was born and raised in a wonderful Christian family. I'm in a true Christian family. Love, compassion, mercy, forgiveness. Kids would flock to our house. To me, that was normal, right? And I never understood as a kid why God talked about the importance of us having faith.
Hmm.
And even Jesus said, well, your faith has made you well. Excuse me, time out, time out. Why does God need our faith? This guy going, oh man, if only Bobby would believe I could pull this off. I can't do it without him. That never made sense. No one could ever answer it. And all of a sudden I got it.
Hmm.
You know what the placebo effect is? It's faith.
Faith.
The people that get it have the faith that this is going to help them. Right. And so what the insight that I got was, so God has already put into us that miraculous healing ability, and faith releases it. So it's almost like the faith healing. I mean, the healing ability is in a pipe, right? A water pipe, and there's a faucet, and faith turns on the faucet to let it flow. So in modifying my brain technique, I think I discovered a way to help release that on purpose, because having faith can be difficult, especially when you're in the midst of stuff.
So in your testing and experience, is the brain technique that you developed even more powerful than EFT, or is it more simple than EFT, or what's the benefit there?
So what I will do is I will combine the two. So the EFT, we can use that to deal with the traumas and so forth. And then it's great to prep somebody before the brain technique, because it puts you in that relaxed state. And then my brain technique really drops you into that relaxed state. So it's that combination that does it. And again, in the brain technique, now you're reversing the concept of I don't deserve to be healed, whatever. I just got a flash. So a friend of mine had cancer, and I shared with him, things to do, and he was sabotaging at every turn.
Mm.
The exact opposite of what he should do. Well, it turns out when he was a kid, he was in a very hostile, abusive family. And when he got cancer, he got more love and attention than he had in his entire life.
Mm.
He didn't want to get healed. He wanted to get healed consciously, but subconsciously, no, this is wonderful. And he died.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's amazing power that the subconscious life force has.
absolutely. Absolutely. So as you can tell, I'm very excited about the possibilities. Hope I don't have to start wearing disguises pretty soon. People suddenly are getting healed right and left. How dare you? How dare you?
Don't want to go to jail.
That's right. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but breakthrough about the hyperthermia effect, heating up the body before treatment. If you go to anywhere in the world where it's not for profit, like Germany, East Asia, cancer clinics in Mexico, the first thing they do is heat your body up. So again, if you make your your cancer cells weaker, it's easier even for the immune system to take care of it, right? And also the viruses have the same hyperthermia effect. So if the virus is heated up, it makes it weaker, which is exactly why our bodies give us a fever. And yet we're told if you call, they won't call you, and you won't say this, but somebody else, right? A regular MD, hey, doc, I got a temperature of 101. Well, take some Advil, take some Tylenol, take aspirin, cut the fever. Well, why wouldn't I want to do that? It actually goes against making it easier for the immune system to heal.
Yeah, it's been a massive misunderstanding in the American medical system that they think the fever is part of one of the symptoms or part of the disease when it's really part of the cure, and the body's
Yep.
creating that fever on purpose to improve your immune system and to weaken the viruses and bacteria. And for some reason, it's gone one ear and out the other, and that causes a lot of problems when you suppress those symptoms and suppress the fever, so you can't get that full healing out of the body if you don't let it turn into a
So
fever.
is it okay if I say, I love you, man?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Oh, I love it. I love it, love it, love it.
So, do you have the video explaining your brain technique in the webinar?
So I have two main websites. One is The Hidden Secret to Emotional Healing, and that's using the EFT and the brain technique to resolve traumas, post-traumatic stress disorder. A lot of that can be done just with EFT. It's phenomenal. And I've learned so much with intuition. I'll get intuition to go a route that doesn't make any sense in terms of working with someone, right? So
Mhm.
The Hidden Secret to emotionalhealing.com. And then for healing of the body is The Hidden Secret to healing.com. So same route, right? So The Hidden Secret to healing.com.
The Hidden Secret to Healing, and that talks about the brain technique.
Yes. So there's a 45-minute free masterclass. Talks to you about how to keep your body hostile to cancer cells, what to do if you have it, my brain technique, some of my discoveries. And yeah, very exciting.
That's amazing. Did you go into the detail in your studies in the PhD program with heat shock proteins and all the technical ins and outs of how hyperthermia worked?
No, mainly because it got suppressed and we didn't do any more work on it. And it was only later that research started up, like in Germany, they're phenomenal with this, where the actual mechanisms of what's going on take place. And I do in the course that I have. So part of the coaching program, there's an online course to learn my brain technique. There are resources, there are guided audios. You just push play and it guides you through the process. Just pick whatever you have. And then in that resource section are things of like actually how the hyperthermia effect works, scientific journals showing, that it's actually been proven that we were correct and it's used around the world and so forth. Yeah.
Do you have any experience of whether full body hyperthermia in a sauna is better, or if you have the tent where your body is in the sauna but your head is out, is that the same effect on the cancer?
So in my judgment, in my experience, infrared is the most phenomenal way. Rather than a regular sauna, infrared, because it goes deeper, and it's okay if your head is out, because they have those, right, where it's an infrared sauna, but your head is out because your body, all that skin is getting the infrared and going in.
Unless potentially it's a brain tumor, then you might want to do the whole body,
Exactly.
the local.
Yeah.
So, what other words of wisdom do you have for people that are struggling with cancer or caregiving someone with cancer? What hope can you give them right now?
So I was under the impression when I was at the medical school program that cancer cells were almost like a foreign invader, right? Aliens from another planet. And that's why you had to cut them out. You had to blast them with radiation. You had to poison them with chemo, right? As opposed to cancer cells are our own cells and that have gone rogue, so to speak, right? They start multiplying without stopping. They have an unbelievable appetite for sugar, right? That's what a lot of people waste away because it literally will steal glucose from the rest of the body to satisfy the needs of the cancer. So first off, since that's a natural process and the body can heal itself when cancer cells pop up if the immune system is strong, do everything you can to keep the immune system strong. Vitamin D, as you know, D3 with K2 is wonderful. Vitamin C, and I talk a little bit about this in the webinar. Change the attitude of, oh, it's not a war on your cancer. That's a remedy for your body to heal. It's relaxation. I'm so thankful and grateful. My body has the ability to heal. And one of the most powerful things is I call it the even though I choose. So, because these thoughts come in, oh, I'm not going to make it. There's no hope for me, right? Well, you acknowledge it. Even though I think that I'm not going to make it, that satisfies your conscious mind, knows you're paying attention, right? Even though I think I'm not going to make it, I choose to believe my body is a self-healing miracle and I'm healing right now. Even though I had this thought that I'm not worth it, I choose to believe. That simple thing, even in the state we're in right now in our brain's frequency is pretty fast, right? But you get in the meditative state, get down to alpha, especially into theta, which my brain technique does actually gets into theta. Powerful, powerful. So love, good nutrition, seeing an expert like you is huge. Don't try and do it on your own in terms of the detoxing of the stuff that's in your body and getting your body healthy. Go to a medical professional that actually knows about the body healing.
Bob, it's been an amazing conversation, and we're excited to share all these links in the notes of the webinars and the examples,
Awesome.
explanations. So we'll have those websites in the show notes for them. And you've already
Beautiful.
mentioned those websites. And it's just an exciting journey and an amazing conversation to share all these insights with you. And thank you so much for your time today. And I
My
look
pleasure.
forward to speaking in the future.
Absolutely. And a blessing on your practice.
Thank you so much. Have a beautiful
All
day.
right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Hey guys, I'm on a mission to touch the lives of over 10,000 cancer patients this year, and I want you to join me in this cause. So if you or someone you love is dealing with a cancer diagnosis right now, I want you to like this video, share this video, and subscribe to the channel so you can continue to watch this life-changing content. There are a few links down in the description below to join a free private natural cancer support group on Facebook. You can join this group or invite any of your friends, especially cancer survivors. We need their input and emotional support in this group. For you or anyone that you love, click the link for 3cancerinsights.com to watch the short free presentation to understand how to transform your health, the right way to treat cancer, and ways to reduce cancer treatment side effects. I created the Cancer Detox course to support you and your loved ones through the cancer journey. I take you on a guided tour through the 7 pathways of healing, talk about the causes of cancer, the ways to reverse it, and how to integrate natural remedies into your conventional treatment plan if you so choose. And if you like to read, my book, Natural Home and Herbal Healing, is available on Amazon and Audible, and it takes you on a room by room guided tour of all the powerful healing remedies that can be found throughout your own home and property. So check out the links in the description below, and I'll see you in the next video.